Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished his late-night rounds through the research station. The Kepler 442c outpost was humanity's first deep space facility, sitting on the edge of known space. Most nights were quiet, but tonight felt different. The twin moons cast strange shadows through the observation windows, making everything look alien and mysterious. As a xenobiologist, Marcus spent most of his time studying plant samples and atmospheric readings. The work was important but often boring. He had signed up hoping to discover new life forms, but so far Kepler 442c seemed empty of intelligent life. The planet had trees that looked like purple coral and small creatures that scurried away whenever humans appeared. Marcus was checking the waste disposal area when he heard a small sound. It was soft, like someone trying not to cry. He stopped and listened carefully. The sound came again, from behind the large metal containers where they dumped organic waste. Moving slowly, Marcus walked around the containers. His flashlight beam revealed something that made him gasp. A small creature was digging through the garbage, looking for food scraps. It was about the size of a human child, maybe 3 years old, but clearly not human. The creature had 4 thin arms that moved with careful precision. Its body was covered in small, shiny plates that looked like armor. Most striking were its eyes, large compound eyes that reflected the flashlight beam like jewels. The creature looked up at Marcus with obvious fear and intelligence. Marcus could see that the little being was starving. Its body was too thin and its movements were weak. Some of its armor plates had cracks and there were small wounds on its arms. It clutched a piece of moldy bread like it was treasure. Every protocol Marcus had learned told him to call security immediately. First contact with unknown species required multiple levels of approval. There were rules about contamination, safety procedures, and proper documentation. But looking at this hungry, frightened child, Marcus couldn't bring himself to follow protocol. Instead, he slowly knelt down and reached into his pack. He always carried emergency rations during his rounds. Marcus pulled out a water bottle and a nutrition bar, setting them on the ground between himself and the creature. Then he backed away several steps. The creature watched him with those large, intelligent eyes. After a long moment, it crept forward. It sniffed the water bottle carefully, then grabbed it with 2 of its 4 hands. The creature drank desperately, water spilling down its chin. When the bottle was empty, it reached for the nutrition bar. Marcus watched in amazement as the creature figured out how to open the wrapper. Its small fingers were incredibly skilled, and it clearly understood that the wrapper needed to be removed. The creature ate the nutrition bar in small, careful bites, making it last as long as possible. When the food was gone, the creature looked at Marcus again. For a moment, neither moved. Then the creature made a soft sound, almost like "thank you" in some unknown language. It gathered itself up and disappeared into the purple forest so quickly that Marcus barely saw it go. Marcus stood in the disposal area for several minutes, trying to process what had happened. He had just made first contact with an intelligent alien species. The creature was clearly young, clearly intelligent, and clearly in trouble. In his mind, he started calling her Pip because of the soft sound she made. When Marcus returned to the station, he knew he should report the encounter immediately. But something held him back. The creature, Pip, had been so afraid, so desperate. If he reported her, teams of scientists would come with nets and cages. They would want to study her, run tests, ask questions she couldn't answer. The next morning, Marcus filed a routine report about his night rounds. He mentioned checking all the usual areas and finding nothing unusual. It was the first time he had ever lied in an official report, but it felt like the right thing to do. Station Commander Hayes reviewed the reports during the morning briefing. She was a strict military officer who followed every rule exactly. Hayes had made it clear that any contact with potentially intelligent species must be reported immediately. The punishment for hiding such contact could mean court-martial and the end of Marcus's career. During his regular work that day, Marcus couldn't stop thinking about Pip. Where did she come from? Why was she alone? What had happened to her people? The planet's initial surveys had shown no signs of intelligent life. But clearly the surveys had missed something important. Dr. Sarah Kim, the station's chief anthropologist, noticed Marcus seemed distracted during their team meeting. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said with a smile. Marcus forced a laugh and blamed it on not sleeping well. If only she knew how close to the truth she was. That evening, Marcus volunteered for night rounds again. He told himself he was just being thorough, checking areas that might have been overlooked. But he knew the real reason. He hoped Pip would return, and he wanted to be ready if she did. As he approached the waste disposal area, Marcus's heart began beating faster. He had brought extra food and water, just in case. He also brought a small medical kit, having noticed Pip's injuries the night before. The disposal area seemed empty at first. Marcus waited patiently, checking his equipment and trying to look casual. After 20 minutes, he was about to give up when he heard that soft sound again. Pip emerged from behind a different container, watching him carefully. This time, she seemed less afraid. She approached more quickly when Marcus set down food and water. As she ate, Marcus studied her more carefully. Her armor plates had natural patterns like fingerprints. Her forearms moved independently, showing incredible coordination. Most importantly, her eyes tracked his movements with obvious intelligence and curiosity. When Pip finished eating, she didn't run away immediately. Instead, she tilted her head and made several different sounds as if trying to communicate. Marcus found himself responding, making gentle sounds back. It wasn't a conversation, but it felt like the beginning of one. Eventually, Pip gathered herself and prepared to leave. But before she disappeared into the forest, she did something unexpected. She picked up a small, smooth stone and placed it where the food had been. Then she looked at Marcus one more time and vanished into the purple trees. Marcus picked up the stone and examined it closely. It was perfectly round and had been polished smooth. This wasn't something Pip had found randomly. She had prepared this gift. She understood the concept of trade, of giving something in return for kindness received. As Marcus walked back to the station, he realized he was in deeper trouble than he had thought. This wasn't just about feeding a hungry animal. Pip was clearly intelligent, possibly more intelligent than humans had given her species credit for. She understood reciprocity, planning, and social interaction. Back in his quarters, Marcus held Pip's gift and made a decision that would change everything. He would continue to help her regardless of the rules. Some things were more important than protocols and procedures. Sometimes being human meant choosing compassion over compliance. He had no idea that his simple act of kindness would soon bring humanity face to face with forces that could either destroy them or elevate them to heights they had never imagined. For now, all Marcus knew was that somewhere in the purple forest, a hungry child had trusted him enough to accept help. That trust felt like the most important thing in the universe. 3 weeks passed, and Pip returned every night like clockwork. Marcus had started preparing for their meetings during his regular day shifts, carefully setting aside extra food and medical supplies without anyone noticing. He told his colleagues he was developing a taste for night walks, which wasn't entirely untrue. Each encounter revealed more about Pip's intelligence. She learned to recognize different types of food and showed clear preferences. She seemed to understand that Marcus was helping her, responding with small gifts, polished stones, interesting leaves, or small carved pieces of wood that showed remarkable skill for such tiny hands. Marcus began bringing paper and simple drawing tools. To his amazement, Pip understood their purpose immediately. She drew crude but recognizable pictures of herself and other creatures that looked similar. When Marcus drew simple shapes and pointed to objects, Pip caught on quickly, beginning to associate human symbols with real things. The breakthrough came during their 4th week of meetings. Pip had been drawing what looked like a map, showing Marcus different areas of the forest. She kept pointing to sections of her drawing and making urgent sounds. Marcus realized she was trying to tell him about her people, where they lived, where they traveled, and what had happened to them. Using simple pictures and gestures, Pip showed Marcus that her people moved from place to place, never staying long in one area. She drew pictures of groups together, then groups separated, then smaller and smaller groups. Many of her drawings showed creatures lying still, clearly dead. Something terrible had happened to her species. Marcus started teaching Pip simple human words. She learned water, food, and safe within days. Her mouth couldn't make all human sounds correctly, but she tried hard to communicate. When she managed to say Marcus for the first time, it was one of the most moving moments of his life. Through their growing communication, Marcus learned that Pip's people were called something that sounded like Zephyrians. They were peaceful travelers who followed specific routes through space, never taking more than they needed from any world. But something had been hunting them, driving them from planet to planet. One night, Marcus brought a tablet computer to show Pip pictures of Earth and other planets. Her reaction was immediate and startling. She pointed excitedly at images of cities and technology, then drew more complex pictures showing large ships and organized societies. The Zephyrians weren't primitive. They were an advanced civilization that had been reduced to scattered refugees. During their 6th week of meetings, something changed. Pip seemed more nervous than usual, constantly looking over her shoulder toward the forest. She had learned enough human words to say danger and coming, which she repeated several times while pointing toward the sky. That same week, Station Commander Hayes called Marcus into her office. She had been reviewing personnel files and noticed Marcus had volunteered for an unusual number of night shifts. Security cameras had also detected someone moving around the disposal areas at odd hours. "Dr. Chen," Hayes said in her stern military voice, "your recent behavior has been noted. You've been spending a lot of time outside the main facility during off hours. Is there something you need to report?" Marcus felt his heart racing, but he kept his voice steady. "I've been conducting additional atmospheric studies, Commander. The night air shows different chemical compositions that might be important for our research." Hayes studied him carefully. "Dr. Chen, you're aware that any contact with potential intelligent life must be reported immediately. The consequences for hiding such contact include court-martial and imprisonment." "Of course, Commander. I understand the protocols completely," Marcus replied, hoping his voice didn't betray the truth. That night, Marcus met Pip with a heavy heart. He knew their time was running out. Hayes was suspicious, and it was only a matter of time before security would follow him or set up cameras in the disposal area. He had to find a way to help Pip while he still could, but Pip had other concerns. She was more agitated than ever, drawing pictures of large ships and pointing repeatedly at the sky. She had learned the word soon and used it constantly. Whatever was coming, it was approaching quickly. Then something happened that changed everything. As Marcus and Pip sat together working on their communication, a loud crash echoed from the forest. A large predator, something like a cross between a bear and a lizard, charged out of the trees directly toward them. Marcus froze in terror. The creature was massive, with razor-sharp claws and teeth like knives. It moved with deadly speed, and Marcus knew he couldn't outrun it. He was about to become another casualty of an alien world. But Pip didn't freeze. Moving faster than Marcus had ever seen her move, she positioned herself between him and the predator. Her forearms moved in complex patterns while she made sounds Marcus had never heard before. Not the soft communication sounds, but something much more powerful. The predator stopped its charge. Confused by this tiny creature that showed no fear, Pip continued her strange movements and sounds, and Marcus realized she was using some kind of advanced communication or even technology he couldn't understand. The predator's aggressive posture changed to uncertainty, then to something that looked almost like respect. After several tense minutes, the large predator turned and walked back into the forest. It didn't run away in fear. It left as if it had been politely asked to go elsewhere. Pip had somehow communicated with a completely different species and convinced it to leave them alone. Marcus stared at Pip in amazement. This small creature had just demonstrated abilities that suggested her species was far more advanced than anyone had imagined. She hadn't used any visible technology, but she had accomplished something that should have been impossible. "How?" Marcus asked, his voice barely a whisper. Pip looked at him with those large, intelligent eyes and said one of the few human words she knew well. "Family." Marcus began to understand. The Zephyrians didn't just travel through space. They communicated with other species wherever they went. They were diplomats, mediators, peacemakers. That's why they were being hunted. Someone saw their ability to unite different species as a threat. The next morning, Security Chief Williams reported unusual readings from the disposal area monitoring systems. Commander Hayes decided to investigate personally that evening. Marcus knew his secret meetings with Pip were about to be discovered. During his day shift, Marcus made a difficult decision. He prepared a larger supply of food and medical equipment than usual, along with some basic tools and a simple communication device. If this was going to be their last meeting, he wanted to give Pip everything she might need to survive on her own. That evening, Marcus met Pip knowing it might be the last time. He gave her the supplies and tried to explain that he might not be able to return. Pip seemed to understand the seriousness of the situation. She drew pictures showing Marcus behind bars, then pictures of ships in the sky. As they said goodbye, Pip did something she had never done before. She reached out with one of her small hands and gently touched Marcus's face. It was a gesture of friendship, gratitude, and farewell all at once. Then she spoke carefully in her growing human vocabulary. Marcus good. Marcus family. Pip remember always. Before Marcus could respond, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed from the direction of the station. Security was coming. Pip heard them too and quickly gathered her supplies. But before she disappeared into the forest, she pressed something into Marcus's hand. Not a simple stone this time, but what looked like a small piece of advanced technology. As Pip vanished into the purple trees, Marcus quickly hid the device in his pocket. Moments later, Commander Hayes and 2 security officers appeared with flashlights and scanning equipment. They found Marcus standing alone in the disposal area, looking up at the stars. Dr. Chen, Hayes said coldly, "You're going to explain exactly what you've been doing out here, and you're going to explain it now." Marcus looked at the commander and made a choice that would define the rest of his life. The device in his pocket felt warm against his hand, and somehow he knew that everything was about to change, not just for him, but for all of humanity. Marcus stood in Commander Hayes' office the next morning, facing a disciplinary hearing that could end his career. Security footage had clearly shown him spending time in unauthorized areas, and thermal scans had detected what looked like 2 heat signatures in the disposal zone. Hayes was not in a forgiving mood. "Dr. Chen, you have one chance to tell me the truth," Hayes said, her voice like ice. "We have evidence of unauthorized activity, possible contact with unknown life forms, and deliberate violation of multiple safety protocols. Explain yourself." Marcus felt the weight of the alien device in his pocket. He had examined it briefly in his quarters, and it appeared to be some kind of communication tool with technology far beyond human understanding. Whatever he said next would determine not just his fate, but possibly the fate of first contact between humans and an alien species. "Commander, I have been conducting unauthorized research," Marcus said carefully. "I discovered evidence of intelligent life on this planet, and I chose to investigate rather than report immediately." The room fell silent. Dr. Sarah Kim, who had been called in as a witness, leaned forward in shock. Security Chief Williams reached for his weapon. Hayes' face turned red with anger. "You're telling me you made first contact with an alien species and decided to keep it secret?" Hayes demanded. "Do you have any idea what you've done? This is the most serious breach of protocol in the history of space exploration." Before Marcus could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed and the automated voice system announced, "Unknown energy signatures detected. All personnel report to emergency stations immediately." Hayes rushed to the communications console. "Control, this is Commander Hayes. What's the situation?" "Commander, long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures approaching the system. Multiple large vessels, unknown configuration. They'll reach our position in approximately 6 hours." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Pip had been trying to warn him about something coming from the sky. Her people were refugees, running from something terrible. Now that something had found them. In his pocket, the alien device suddenly began to warm up and emit a soft humming sound. Marcus could feel it vibrating gently, as if it was responding to something nearby. Without thinking, he pulled it out and placed it on Hayes' desk. The device was about the size of a smartphone but made of what looked like crystalline material that shifted colors in the light. As they watched, it began projecting a 3-dimensional hologram showing the solar system, with multiple red dots approaching from deep space. "What is that thing?" Williams asked, his hand still on his weapon. "It's a communication device," Marcus said. "The alien child gave it to me. I think she was trying to warn us about this." The hologram changed, showing detailed images of massive warships with aggressive, angular designs. Dr. Kim gasped as the true scale became clear. Each ship was larger than Earth's largest space stations, and there were dozens of them. Suddenly, the device began producing sounds, complex harmonics that seemed to interface directly with the station's computer systems. The main screen in Hayes' office activated on its own, displaying information in human text that somehow the device was translating in real time. The text read, Cathara Hegemony Fleet approaching. Seeking Zephyrian refugees. All harboring species will be considered enemies. Surrender refugees immediately or face destruction. Hayes stared at the message in disbelief. They're demanding we turn over refugees? What refugees? We don't have any refugees. Actually, we do, Marcus said quietly. The alien child, Pip, she's a refugee. Her people are called Zephyrians, and they're running from this Cathara hegemony. These ships are here to hunt them down. The device continued projecting information showing the history of the conflict. The Cathara hegemony was a militaristic empire that viewed the peaceful Zephyrians as a threat to their expansion. The Zephyrians' ability to communicate with and unite different species was seen as dangerous to Cathara control. More text appeared. Zephyrians peaceful. Never attack. Only seek safety. Cathara destroy all who help. Human station will be destroyed unless refugees surrendered. Dr. Kim spoke up, her voice shaking. Our research station isn't equipped for combat. We have no weapons, no shields, no way to defend ourselves against a military fleet. If we don't give them what they want, they'll destroy us all. Marcus looked at the device, then at his colleagues. We can't turn over a child to people who want to destroy her species. That's not what humanity stands for. And we can't sacrifice the lives of everyone on this station for one alien. White Williams argued. I'm sorry, but we have to think about our own people first. Hayes studied the tactical display showing the approaching fleet. Our fastest ship couldn't outrun those vessels. We can't evacuate and we can't fight. If we refuse their demands, we're all dead. The device suddenly projected a new image, a map of the local forest showing a small heat signature moving rapidly toward the station. Pip was coming back. She somehow knew about the approaching fleet and was trying to reach them. New text appeared. Zephyrian child approaching human settlement. Seeking to prevent harm to humans. Will surrender self to save human friends. Marcus felt his heart break. Pip was coming to sacrifice herself to save the humans who had shown her kindness. She was just a child, but she understood the situation better than the adults around her. She was willing to die to protect people she barely knew. We have to stop her, Marcus said, standing up. She's trying to save us by turning herself in. We can't let a child sacrifice herself for our mistakes. Hayes looked at the tactical display again. The Cathara fleet would arrive in less than 6 hours. They had no good options, no way to fight and no way to run. The only choice seemed to be between saving themselves or saving Pip. Then the device projected one more piece of information that changed everything. A new ship signature had appeared on the long-range sensors, smaller than the Cathara vessels but moving at incredible speed. The energy readings were unlike anything in human databases, showing technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Text appeared on the screen. Zephyrian War matriarch vessel detected. Last survivor of the ancient fleet. Pip's mother comes for her child. Marcus stared at the display in amazement. Pip's mother was alive and coming to rescue her daughter, but according to the sensor readings, she was vastly outnumbered by the Cathara fleet. One ancient ship against dozens of modern warships. The final message from the device was simple but terrifying. War matriarch will fight to save child. War matriarch will be fighting superior numbers. Pip will watch mother die. Then Pip will die. Hayes looked around the room at her team. They were scientists and researchers, not soldiers. They had signed up to explore the universe and expand human knowledge, not to choose sides in an alien war. But sometimes the universe forced impossible choices on ordinary people. What do we do? Dr. Kim asked quietly. Marcus looked at the alien device, still projecting its warnings and information. In a few hours, they would face the most important decision in human history. They could save themselves by abandoning their principles, or they could stand up for what was right and probably die in the process. But as Marcus watched the tactical display, he realized there might be a third option, one that would require humanity to take its first real step into the larger galactic community, not as observers or victims, but as active participants in the fight between tyranny and freedom. The Cathara fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a wall of darkness against the stars. Commander Hayes watched from the station's observation deck as dozens of massive warships arranged themselves in attack formation around Kepler 442c. Each vessel was a monument to military power, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The lead ship, larger than all the others, transmitted a message that appeared simultaneously on every screen in the research station. The voice was cold, mechanical, translated by universal communication protocols that made every word feel like a threat. Human settlement on third planet. You are harboring enemies of the Cathara hegemony. Surrender all Zephyrian refugees immediately, or your facility will be destroyed. You have 1 standard hour to comply. Hayes looked at Marcus, who still held the alien communication device. Can we contact them? Try to negotiate? Marcus shook his head. According to what Pip showed me, the Cathara don't negotiate. They see diplomacy as weakness. They only understand force and surrender. Through the observation windows, they could see small ships launching from the Cathara vessels, landing craft filled with soldiers preparing to search the planet's surface. The research station's basic sensors showed armed troops in heavy armor, equipped with weapons designed to hunt down and capture fleeing refugees. Then something changed on the sensor displays. Dr. Kim called out from the communications station, "Commander, I'm detecting a new ship signature. Small vessel, unknown configuration approaching from the outer system." The ship appeared on their screens like something from a dream. Unlike the angular, aggressive design of the Cathara vessels, this ship flowed like water made solid. Its hull seemed to shift and change color as it moved, and the energy readings showed technology that operated on principles human science didn't understand. Marcus felt the communication device grow warm in his hands. New text appeared on the station's main screen. Zephyrian War Matriarch Zara approaching. Last guardian of the ancient ways. Mother of the child you have protected. The Cathara fleet immediately turned their attention to the new arrival. Warning broadcasts filled the space around the planet. Zephyrian vessel, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Resistance will result in immediate destruction. Zara's response came through the communication device translated into human language. Cathara cowards, you hunt children and call it war. You destroy the peaceful and call it victory. Today you face a warrior of the old fleet. Today you learn what real power means. The first Cathara ship to attack simply vanished. One moment it was firing its main weapons at Zara's vessel. The next moment the space where it had been was empty. Not destroyed, erased as if it had never existed at all. Security Chief Williams stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. How is that possible? Our instruments show no explosion, no debris, no energy discharge. That ship just stopped existing. Zara's ship moved through space like it was dancing, phasing in and out of normal reality. When Cathara vessels fired at her, their weapons passed through empty space. When she fired back, reality itself seemed to bend around her targets, causing them to simply cease to be. But even with her incredible technology, Zara was vastly outnumbered. For every Cathara ship she eliminated, 2 more took its place. Her ancient vessel began showing signs of strain, its hull flickering as the reality-bending weapons drew power from systems that were already failing. A new message appeared through the communication device. Human friends of my daughter, I am dying. My ship fails and I cannot defeat so many enemies alone, but I offer you a choice that will echo through the stars. The message continued. Your kind showed mercy to a starving child when you had no reason to care. This kindness marks you as worthy. I can share my technology with your settlement, link our weapons to yours. Together we might survive, but you will be marked as enemies of the Cathara forever. Hayes looked around the command center. Every face showed the same mixture of fear and determination. They were researchers and scientists, not soldiers, but they were also human beings who had been asked to choose between safety and standing up for what was right. What exactly are you offering? Hayes asked, speaking directly to the communication device. Zara's reply came quickly. My daughter created a communication network with your settlement. Through this network, I can link my reality manipulation technology to your defensive systems. Your shields and weapons will become like mine, able to phase through enemy attacks and strike at the quantum level. But the process is dangerous and permanent. Dr. Kim spoke up. What do you mean permanent? Once your technology is merged with ours, humanity will possess weapons that can reshape reality itself. Other species will see you as either valuable allies or dangerous threats. You will never again be ignored or dismissed. The galaxy will know that humans are not to be underestimated. Marcus thought about Pip, alone in the forest, probably watching the battle from hiding, and knowing her mother was fighting for her life. He thought about the trust she had placed in him, a stranger from another species who had simply offered food to a hungry child. "Commander," Marcus said quietly, "we're not just deciding our own fate here. We're deciding what kind of species humanity wants to be. Do we abandon those who trust us when things get dangerous? Or do we stand up for our principles even when it costs us?" Another Kithara ship vanished from Zara's weapons, but 3 more had flanked her position. Energy beams struck her hull, causing visible damage for the first time. Her ship's beautiful flowing form began to crack and fade. A new message appeared. "I am wounded and failing. My ship will be destroyed within minutes. Decide quickly, human friends. Will you stand with us or will you watch my daughter become an orphan before the Kithara finish her as well?" Hayes looked at her team one more time. Williams nodded grimly, understanding the choice they faced. Dr. Kim took a deep breath and said, "We can't abandon them now, not after they trusted us enough to ask for help." Commander Hayes activated the station's communication system and broadcast on all frequencies. "Zara, this is Commander Hayes of the Kepler Research Station. We accept your offer. Link your technology to our systems. Humanity stands with the Zephyrians." The response was immediate. The alien communication device in Marcus's hands suddenly blazed with light, and energy flowed from it into every system on the research station. Screens throughout the facility displayed new readings as human technology merged with Zephyrian quantum manipulation systems. Dr. Kim watched in amazement as the station's simple defensive grid transformed. Shield projectors that had been designed to stop micrometeoroids suddenly showed energy readings that defied physics. Weapons that had never been intended for ship-to-ship combat now displayed targeting systems that operated outside normal spacetime. The Kithara fleet, which had been preparing to destroy Zara's weakened ship, suddenly found themselves facing a new kind of enemy. The human research station, previously dismissed as a minor target, now blazed with the same reality-bending energy as the ancient Zephyrian vessel. Marcus felt the change in his bones as human technology merged with something far beyond their understanding. The research station had become something new. Not quite human, not quite Zephyrian, but a fusion of both species' capabilities and values. A final message came through the communication network. "The joining is complete. Fight well, humans. Show the galaxy what your species is capable of when you stand for what is right." My daughter chose her friends wisely. As the merged human Zephyrian defense system came online, the Kithara fleet realized they were no longer facing helpless researchers and a single dying warrior. They were confronting a new alliance that combined human determination with technology that could rewrite the fundamental laws of physics. The battle for Kepler 442c was about to begin, and its outcome would determine not just the fate of Pip and her mother, but humanity's place in a galaxy where kindness to strangers could lead to the stars themselves. The first test of the human-Zephyrian alliance came when 3 Kithara destroyers broke formation and charged directly at the research station. Their commanders had clearly decided that the small human facility would be the easiest target to destroy. Proving to the galaxy that this new alliance meant nothing, they were wrong. Dr. Kim, now operating the merged weapon systems, found herself thinking in ways that felt both human and alien. The tactical display showed her not just where the enemy ships were, but where they would be, where they could be, and where they could never be all at the same time. When she fired, the station's weapons didn't shoot energy beams through space. Instead, they reached through the quantum foam of reality itself and touched the Kithara ships at the molecular level. The 3 destroyers didn't explode. They simply stopped being coherent matter. Their atoms scattered across light years of space in an instant. Marcus watched the tactical display in amazement as human intuition guided alien technology with devastating effectiveness. The research station's computers were processing tactical information using human pattern recognition, while Zephyrian quantum systems implemented strategies that operated outside normal physics. But the real surprise came when the merged network revealed something neither species had expected. Human tactical thinking, shaped by millions of years of survival on a dangerous planet, created new possibilities when combined with Zephyrian reality manipulation. The Alliance wasn't just adding human weapons to Zephyrian technology. It was creating something entirely new. Commander Hayes found she could coordinate attacks with Zara's ship as if they were dancing, partners who had trained together for years. When the Cathara fleet tried to surround them, the station and Zara's vessel phased in and out of normal space, appearing behind enemy lines and striking at command ships before vanishing again. The Cathara, who had expected to face scattered refugees and weak researchers, found themselves fighting an enemy that combined the best qualities of both species. Human creativity and adaptability merged with Zephyrian wisdom and technology, created tactical solutions that neither species could have imagined alone. But the battle was taking its toll. Zara's ancient ship was failing despite the support from the research station. Warning messages flowed through the communication network. Hull breaches, power system failures, life support failing. She was dying and everyone could see it. A message appeared on Marcus's screen. "Human friend Marcus, my time ends soon. But before I die, I must speak with my daughter. The network allows this. Will you help me say goodbye?" Marcus activated the communication system's external broadcasts. Through the quantum network, Zara's voice reached into the forest where Pip was hiding, watching the battle in the sky with those large, intelligent eyes. The conversation was in the Zephyrian language, but the translation system allowed the humans to understand every word. Zara spoke of love, of pride, of the courage Pip had shown in trusting strangers. She spoke of the new alliance between their peoples and the hope it represented for all peaceful species in the galaxy. Pip's response came through clearly. "Mother, the humans are good. Marcus fed me when I was hungry. They are worthy allies. The old ways will live through this alliance." As mother and daughter said their farewells, the Cathara fleet regrouped for one final assault. They had lost over half their ships to the unexpected alliance, but they still outnumbered the defenders. Their commanding admiral, furious at the resistance, ordered all remaining vessels to concentrate fire on Zara's ship. The combined firepower of 20 Cathara warships struck Zara's vessel at once. Even with the quantum shields, even with the reality-bending armor, the damage was too much. Her ship began to break apart, its ancient hull finally giving way after 1,000 years of protecting her people. But Zara had one final gift for her new human allies. As her ship died around her, she transferred all remaining power to the quantum network linking her vessel to the research station. The merger became complete, human and Zephyrian technology fusing at the deepest level possible. Marcus felt the change as it happened. The research station wasn't just using Zephyrian technology anymore. It had become a hybrid, a new kind of vessel that represented the best of both species. Hull plating flowed like liquid metal. Weapon systems operated on principles that rewrote physics, and defensive fields existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The transformation caught the Cathara fleet completely off guard. Where there had been a simple research station, now there was something that challenged their understanding of what was possible. The humans had gained access to technology that made them equals to any species in the galaxy. Commander Hayes, now commanding weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality, made a decision that would echo throughout galactic history. Instead of destroying the remaining Cathara ships, she did something the Imperial fleet had never experienced. She offered them mercy. "Cathara fleet, this is Commander Hayes of the Human Zephyrian Alliance. You have attacked peaceful refugees and threatened civilians, but we offer you the chance to withdraw. Leave this system immediately and spread word throughout the galaxy. Humanity protects those who seek shelter with us." The Cathara Admiral's response was immediate and predictable. "Humans are weak. We do not retreat from inferior species. All ships attack pattern Omega." What happened next changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The hybrid station didn't just defeat the Cathara fleet. It demonstrated capabilities that redefined what was possible in space combat. Ships that tried to attack found their weapons firing harmlessly through phased space. Vessels that attempted to flee discovered they were trapped in localized time distortions. The battle ended not with massive explosions, but with the Cathara fleet simply becoming powerless. Their ships remained intact, but every weapon was disabled, every engine was shut down, every communication system was blocked. They floated helplessly in space, completely at the mercy of the alliance they had tried to destroy. Hayes broadcast one final message to the defeated fleet. "You came here to hunt refugees and found warriors. You expected weakness and found strength. Return to your empire and tell them this. Humanity will protect any peaceful species that seeks our aid. The age of predators ruling through fear is ending. The Cathara ships were released and allowed to retreat, carrying with them news that would spread throughout the galaxy. Humanity had emerged as a major power not through conquest or aggression, but through compassion and alliance. After the battle, Marcus found Pip waiting at the edge of the research station's landing pad. She had emerged from the forest and walked through the facility's gardens, no longer hiding. Her large eyes were sad with the loss of her mother, but they also held something new: hope. Through the quantum communication network, Zara's final gift became clear. She had transmitted the locations of every surviving Zephyrian community, scattered across the galaxy. Hundreds of refugee groups hidden on distant worlds could now be contacted and offered sanctuary. Dr. Kim, studying the data, looked up in amazement. "Marcus, do you realize what this means? We're not just helping one child anymore. We're about to become the guardians of an entire species." Pip approached Marcus slowly, then spoke in her improving human words. "Marcus, good friend. Pip has no family now, but Pip has humans. Marcus will teach Pip about humans. Pip will teach humans about stars." As Marcus knelt down to embrace the small alien child who had changed the course of human history, he realized that the simple act of feeding a hungry stranger had led to something extraordinary. Humanity had gained not just advanced technology, but allies, purpose, and a place among the stars as protectors of the weak. Over the following months, refugee ships began arriving at human space stations. The Zephyrians brought with them knowledge of the galaxy, maps of safe passage routes, and introductions to dozens of other peaceful species. Humanity's first act as a galactic power was to become a sanctuary for those who had nowhere else to go. The research station on Kepler 442c became the first embassy of the Human Zephyrian Alliance, a beacon of hope in a galaxy that had known too much fear. Ships from across the stars came not as conquerors or traders, but as visitors seeking to understand the species that had chosen compassion over survival. Commander Hayes, now the first human admiral of an interstellar alliance, often stood on the observation deck watching ships arrive and depart. Each vessel carried refugees to safety, diplomats to peace negotiations, or explorers to new worlds where freedom and cooperation were possible. And in the gardens of the station, Pip grew strong and healthy under the care of humans who had learned that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can reshape the universe. She became the first Zephyrian to grow up as part of human society, bridging two species with her laughter and curiosity. Marcus often watched her play with human children in the station's recreational areas, teaching them games from her people while learning human customs. In those moments, he saw the future of the galaxy, not as a battlefield between competing empires, but as a community where different species could grow together in peace. The simple truth that had started it all remained unchanged. A hungry child had needed help, and someone had chosen to provide it.